Well, good morning. Steve Morlow here, and we'll have guests joining us momentarily. We're going to spend this morning doing a little bit of a review on what the happiness advantage is and how it incorporates in with the gratitude program. So as individuals join us this morning, we'll have an opportunity to jump over there. And while we're letting them connect with us, I'm going to pause for just a second. There comes Randy. Good morning, Randy. How you doing, my friend? I'm just looking up something real quick in the middle of all this. How's your morning going?
Hey, Steve, how are you doing?
Are you in San Francisco, or do you just love that view
I
behind you?
just loaded that behind me. No, I'm not anywhere near San. I'm in the middle of the United States.
Okay, Midwestern. Okay, cool. So how's the weekend? Did you get a chance to watch the Super Bowl?
I haven't watched the Super Bowl in a long, long time. It's,
Right,
I kind of looked at the scores. And I know
right.
Los Angeles won, but I'm not a big pro football fan.
Yeah,
Oh. How about you?
totally get
Did you
that.
watch it or?
Yeah, I am. My fiance is a big football fan, and so
Oh,
Good
okay.
morning, Linda. Good morning. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So we were
Morning.
just talking about the game. So Amy's a big Super Bowl fan, or she's a big football fan. Anyway,
Yeah.
just being from Dallas, in Texas.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on Oilers, watching Bum Phillips and
Oh yeah.
Dan Pastorini and Earl Campbell and Kenny Burroughs. So that was me growing up in the '80s, watching
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
Oilers, because I grew up in Houston as
I
a
grew up a
kid.
Cowboys fan. Roger Staubach.
A big time. I was
Okay.
Tom Landry. Still, Tom Landry is like one of my
Tom
heroes.
Landry was classic.
Big time, classic and classy, both at the same time. You're exactly right. Really incredible guy. And yeah, Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Tony Hill. Those were the guys
Carl
that
Jones,
Oh yeah,
Harvey Martin.
exactly. So I grew up watching those guys, but I'll tell you, I even watched the Cowboys. Of course, when the Oilers became the Tennessee Titans, I didn't follow them there, and I've never followed them since they've become the Houston Texans. I've just never been part of that franchise. But I used to be a big fan of the Cowboys, and used to watch all the games in the '80s and into the '90s, even when Aikman was there and Jimmy Johnson. I liked him, but I absolutely despised Jerry Jones. I think
I'm right there with you, brother.
yeah.
You want to know the last time I watched a Super Bowl?
Go ahead.
Last time the Cowboys played, and that was 1995.
Wow. Wow.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
it's just one of those things where I've got certain individuals that sync with me, and those individuals, I have to have a certain level of moral standard that connects. Good morning, Linda. I'm sorry I didn't say good morning to you.
Good morning.
Caught in the middle of
Linda and Linda. Hey, we've got the double Linda show going here.
Yeah, we do. We have Linda and Linda. Yeah, good to see you guys. Or instead of you guys, how about you ladies? Good to see you ladies. How about that? So yeah, we watched the game yesterday, and I'm glad it was a close game. But the whole time Amy was trying to get me, which team are you for? Which team are you for? I said, I'm for a good game. I'd rather see a good game because I'm like you, Randy. I don't really have any dog in the game. I don't have any. I don't care. I don't want it to be a blowout. And so we had a good game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose I watch. I check every once in a while during the season to see what the Cowboys are doing, and when I saw they lost the first playoff games, oh well, but
Yeah.
I stopped being a big pro football fan. There's just too many crybabies, too many.
That's what's hurt the game to
Anyway.
me. There's too many people that used to play for the love of the game, and now you have so many people playing for the dollars.
They're playing for the love of the money. They don't care about the game.
And they don't care about the franchise, and I don't think they really care about the fans.
Well,
And
and
so,
you got owners like Jerry Jones that, wow, we could have a long conversation about that. Let's not go there, though.
yeah.
You probably bored these ladies to tears already. So
Yeah, I understand. So here's what we want to do today. Obviously, we're here to talk about and focus on, prepping the objective. Where do we want to go today? How do we use this concept to boost our performance by 31%? And all of it has to do with the concept of using gratitude. Okay, so the gratitude concept comes from multiple sources, whether you want to say it's biblical, it's philosophical, it's ancient, of course. But a couple of the main things that really makes a difference in why this is important is because it brings you into the moment. And the moment is, let's use the word mindfulness. we spend a lot of our times living in the past, and most of the past, when we're thinking about it, we live in some level of regret. Okay, wished, shoulda, all that kind of stuff, right? And then the other time is we spend a lot of times fretting and worried and concerned and frightened about the future, because we're thinking about all these things that are mountain climbing experiences. Well, but we don't look at them. We look at them in a negative fashion. Okay, and we see these things as things that are coming up, and they create intrepidation. They create concern, fear, and worry. Okay, God, was it Mark Twain, I think, that made that great statement? Something to the extent of, how many times have I lived in worry about the future of things that never happened and never came about? You know, I'm sorry, I just really butchered the statement, because obviously Mark Twain is very eloquent. But the concept I think you get is we spend a lot of time, and if you hear conversations going on, sometimes sitting on a patio, you can, what they call ear hustle. You know, you can jump into other people's conversations, not intentionally, but you just hear them. And you hear a lot of this concern about, you know, how is this going to come off, and how am I going to do that? And what's going to happen about this? And there's nothing wrong with doing planning. Planning is absolutely necessary. It's part of the Better Each Day program. It's part of the incorporation of the Rubicon system that I've taught for decades. Yes, you have to do some planning. When you plan, though, you have to build your plan. You have to do your, if you want to use a military term, you have to do your reconnaissance. Okay, you need to do your surveillance. You need to know what you're up against and what resources you need. How long is it going to get there? You build a mini business plan. Okay, anytime you don't plan, or let's use it this way: failure to plan is planning to fail. Period. There you go. I actually got that one out this morning, and I'm only on my second cup of coffee. Okay, failure to plan is planning to fail. Okay, really simple concept that is absolutely true. Now, here's the opposite side. Planning to win does not guarantee that you will win. How many of those guys yesterday in a Super Bowl actually planned to win and did an incredible level of preparation, and one group won and one group didn't, right? So there's no guarantee that planning automatically results in a win. What you
Can I interrupt you for a sec there, Steve?
Sure.
Just a perfect example of that. There's a news story about a tweet that, or with a tweet from Tom Brady
right
over the weekend, where he had on his calendar, you know, a pop-up set up for Super Bowl day. Get up, get to the stadium on time, blah, blah, blah. You know, he planned to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And that's really good to bring that up, Randy, because look at someone there that has, I believe Amy told me he has 7 rings, you know, Super Bowl rings. And I think they're not just Super Bowl rings that he participated, they're Super Bowl wins that he won the game. And many times he was the MVP player. So there's your forward planning. There's the idea of building out. Good morning, Marcella, and good morning, Margaret. Good to see y'all. Thank you for being here. So we're talking about doing your planning, okay? Planning and preparation. So let me give you this point here. Planning to win doesn't guarantee the win. But let me give you what the guarantee is. Failing to plan guarantees a loss. It guarantees poor performance. So one of the things my father taught me, as many of you know, great Marine, combat decorated, I grew up referring to him as Rambo. So I grew up in the shadows of someone that had really done the real stuff in the real ugly place on the DMZ in Vietnam. Now, one of the things that he told me is that when he was pointing at me, when I was going through sports, he said, you will never lose your game, or you will never lose your position for this, for preventable reasons. That's what we're talking about right here. Preventable reasons. Failing to plan is a preventable reason that if you fail to do that, you automatically go to horrible performance. There's no such thing as showing up in any level of competition, whether it's to do a great thing for your community, do a great thing for the world, do a great thing for your spouse, do a great thing for your children. That if you don't have planning and preparation and practice into that forethought, planning ahead of time, has it got to come off correctly? Am I right? Is everybody with me on that? Okay.
Yeah.
You don't just show up on game day. First of all, you don't get to something, let's use the Super Bowl. You don't get to championship level performance by winging it. It just doesn't happen. Okay. So the concept that I teach a lot of times when I'm talking about coaching my financial clients is most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do planning their financial future. And we can expand that even bigger. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do plan their life. The reason why we're here on prepping the objective here on Better Each Day is just by showing up here on purpose, planning and creating this time to increase your performance, you have already moved yourself into the 95 percentile, into the 5% and outside of the 95 percentile. Because everybody else, what do? Monday morning, oh my God, I can't believe, I watched the game, stayed up too late, probably drank too much, ate a bunch of bad food. And I think they said the biggest call-in day in the United States is the day after the Super Bowl, because everybody goes out and does some kind of level of excess. Let's just use that word, okay? Whether it's too much beer, too much whiskey, or too much whatever. And so today is historically been one of the biggest call-in days where people call in, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sick, I've got a sniffle, I can't do this, and I'm out. And my point that I'm trying to make here is that if we are going to be those individuals that don't preach about better performance, but we demonstrate better performance, think about how many times we've seen our children when we told them, you need to do this. And even our children sometimes call us on our own actions. And they're like, yeah, but you don't do this all the time. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know you were watching that. And then we kind of got checked, right? So that's the key thing we got to remember is having ourselves accountable and making sure that we are demonstrating by our actions and our habits and our character those things that we want to be in this better world. We become the turning point. We're the tipping point. And that's the way you have to understand that you yourself, your actions, your thinking, you getting up a little earlier, you focusing on a little better preparation, all of those small incremental changes become part of the hockey stick effect. Okay. How many of you know what the hockey stick effect is? Everybody know what the hockey stick effect is? Nope. Okay. So if you take a hockey stick, I have to ask this sometimes, because if you make a point of reference and nobody understands what it is, well, it doesn't make a point. All right. Okay. So if you take a hockey stick and you lay it over, okay, and you have the handle that's laying flat on the ground, and then you have the actual, I guess you would call it the part that you whack the puck with. Okay. I'm not a hockey stick player, but you understand what I'm saying. Okay. You've got the part here. Here's what happens in life, whether you're investing, whether you're saving, whether you're doing anything that requires effort over an extended period of time, it looks like the handle of the hockey stick. And you keep doing the same thing and you're like, man, I'm not getting any result. And you keep showing up early and you keep doing your training and your planning. You keep focusing on talking to yourself about having a better thought process, the better conversation with your self-talk. All those little small nuanced things, they don't have immediate levels of dramatic performance, do they? Sometimes you might get that, but that's rare occasion. It's you showing up to do those consistent things that you feel like on that handle is really not moving the needle that much. But then all of a sudden something happens, and there's no guarantee when this happens. I can't tell you if it's 2 years from now, 2 days from now, or 20 years from now, but you're going to get that big jump in that movement of the handle where you're going to get a vertical increase in value in your life. And whether you want to talk about compounding interest on top of interest on top of interest, where you're like, well, I taught my kid to do that, and they're saving, their allowances. And they're like, well, I saved my $5 this month, mom and dad, and I didn't make anything of it. But over time, though, we know that the most valuable thing they can save is the dollar they save today. Interest on top of interest on top of interest. Well, that doesn't show up. It doesn't look big until you get down the road. And if you look at compounding interest, especially down 20 years down the road, even at a single interest rate, you get this big, huge jump, okay, in performance. And so if we take that into our lives and we understand that, then showing up and doing something like this about focusing on positive psychology, that's what this entire environment is. The positive psychology of focusing on being grateful and being focused on doing those things that make a difference in the lives of other people. We're creating that social capital, if you will, social cohesion, where we demonstrate that we care about other people because we're showing up to demonstrate what? Gratefulness. That's it. So here's where I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight, okay? Because I'll give you my perspective. Let me share a little bit of Sean Acor. This is a 2-minute and 38-second video. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's watch this and we'll come back and we'll do our gratitude roundtable. And this will give you a little more insight into why this is so important. All right, here we go.
What if you could improve your productivity by 30% without sacrificing your happiness? What if it turned out that becoming happier was actually the key? After spending over a dozen years at Harvard University, I wanted to test the latest scientific theories of happiness and performance in the business world, outside of the lab and the ivory tower. Over the past 2 years, I've traveled to speak and research in 42 different countries. And amazingly, what I found at almost all of these schools and companies is that they follow the same formula. And that formula is, if you work harder, then you'll be more successful. And if you're successful, well, then you'll be happier. What we're finding in the field of positive psychology is that this formula is broken. Part of that has to do with how we define success. Every time we're successful, we merely move the goalpost of what success looked like. So for example, if we hit our sales target last quarter, we merely change what that sales target is for the next quarter. And if happiness is on the opposite side of that success, every time you change what success looks like, happiness gets pushed over the horizon. But more importantly, what we've discovered in the field of positive psychology is that the formula is actually backwards. Our brains work in the opposite way. Happiness actually fuels success, not the other way around. If you can find a way to get your brain to become positive, your success rates will increase, and as a result, work will become more productive, enjoyable, and rewarding. So if we can change the formula, if we can reverse it, then we can maximize our brain's potential and our performance will increase dramatically. Not to mention the fact that we'll be happier right now in the present. I can imagine that you might be skeptical about all of this. Could happiness really make a difference to our work? Well, the research shows that it actually does. Let me explain.
All right. I actually thought there was a little bit more there at the end of that. Sorry, I could cut that off a few seconds earlier. So there's a longer one that goes into a little bit more about his positive psychology. And that's, I think, what they were wanting you to do is go into the next video. But before we do that, or we'll do that at a different time, let's do this. What did this short video, 2-minute video, what did you get from this? Before I tell you what I got from this, what did it mean to you?
That it's important to be happy first and create happiness and gratefulness today, and then you can accomplish your goals in a much faster and more effective way.
Okay. And how many of us will agree that we set our goals and then we keep moving them over the horizon like what Sean's talking about? So
Yep.
if we get this thing, then we will be happy, right? And then every time we get close to getting it, we keep bumping it down the road. And so we're not actually getting the result. We keep saying, so what he's talking about is what if we worked it around backwards? And what if we became happier sooner or happier first? So our happiness wasn't tied to a goal. It was actually tied to something that we can accomplish on a small incremental basis every day, like the hockey stick effect I'm talking about, right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else get something else out of what Sean was talking about here?
Well, I mean, basically work on changing your mindset and being more positive, and then you'll be happy and then you'll be successful. And I think it's the changing of the mindset, which is of course what we all trying to do and struggle with.
Good point. And so, yes, that's the right thing, is let's change our mindset, focus on being happier on some type of on-demand fashion, right? That's really what we're talking about. How can we be happy on demand? And
Can I throw something out there, Steve?
Go ahead, Randy.
You know, I love Sean Acor. I've read his book. I'm also almost through it the second time.
Right.
But here's a thought I just have is one more level down. Happiness is a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
It's a byproduct of the actions that we take.
Okay.
It's a feeling. Happiness is a feeling that we get as a direct byproduct of actions that we take that are positive.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, kindness is love in action.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have that love in action, that's when those feelings of happiness come.
Right.
So everything we do, everything you and I do to show appreciation and value for each other or for other people,
Right.
that's kindness, that's love in action. That's what leads to happiness, which leads to the success that he's talking about.
Yeah. And there is a solution you just gave us. Okay. So
Yep.
what can we do to trigger this on-demand happiness? Well, we can demonstrate appreciation for other people. Okay. One of the greatest, what would you
And for ourselves, we got to keep that in mind, because ourselves first, us, and then we can give.
right. Kind of like the guy that they talk about every time you get on the plane. Okay. If the mask popped down, before you help somebody else, you're supposed to do what? Make
Mask
sure
yourself.
put it on yourself. Right. You can't breathe.
You can't give a cup of water you can't give someone water from an empty cup.
There you go. Perfect. So let's think about some of these things that we can do on a regular interval that creates happiness on demand. And that's one of the reasons why we do this particular call, is because this allows us to focus. Early part of the week, what can we focus on? What can we reset our mind? Because what happens? We get disrupted, we get distracted, we fall back into what? Old patterns. And old patterns sometimes are just, how do we jump into the grind? How many of you heard that before? You know, oh, it's Monday morning, time to get into the grind. Does that make anybody happy when they hear the term grind? That sounds like a grist mill to me, okay? Doesn't sound like there's something.
Time to go put our heads on the sandstone pavement and just rub them back and forth over and over and over.
Exactly. Right. And so we walk into Monday morning when we used to all coming to offices, and now we're not all necessarily going into physical offices, but we jump into Zoom calls on a regular basis. My day right now
See what you've done to us, Steve? Here we are. We've jumped onto a Zoom call.
Exactly, we did. So when we do this, the concept and the challenge that I've given before is what happens if you begin with focus on something that creates a positive outcome. And that's where the appreciation, self-appreciation, or appreciation for other individuals. What Sean's research, after several decades now, he's been using his research for over the last 10 years since he created the book, The Happiness Advantage. But that was from the research he'd been doing for the prior 10 or 12 years. And he took it out into corporate America. He took it to the European banking industry in 2008. Can you imagine a group of individuals that are less happy, that are less fun? Okay, European bankers. If you've ever been around them, those guys, and I'm mostly guys that I know that when I used to work over in the banking district in Zurich, those guys looked like they were vitamin D deficient. They'd never seen the sun. They didn't know how to smile. They were just not the kind of guys that you would ever, have the idea that these people are happy or positive about anything, except maybe if, the interbank rate, the LIBOR might have a couple upticks, then you might see a little bit on the corner of their mouth might kind of smile a little bit. Okay. So my point that I'm being slightly facetious about is what we can do is we can be the individuals that create the tipping point in every event that we're at. We can become the hockey stick effect. We can become the individuals in ourself, where whether you're journaling or you're just taking your morning mindfulness, where you're having that first cup of coffee, you're asking yourself, what can you be appreciative of yourself? What is it, something that you've done just in the last maybe day or the weekend that you can be grateful about? When you think about it and you bring something to mind, that automatically fires off the neurons in the brain that Sean's research shows increases your performance by 31%. So why would you not do this? It's an awesome habit to add, because if we look at all of our self-talk, we find that 80% of our self-talk during the day is negative. So why not we begin right out of the box and start with something positive, self-appreciation. And then secondly, appreciation for other people. Telling someone else before you begin an event that you're appreciative and being specific and sincere. Okay. People feel that resonance. They feel the vibration. They feel when you have taken time to recognize something that they've done, like you do this for your children. Wow. Positive praise is so powerful. It's one of the things I learned as a parent 20 something years ago. Catch your child doing something exceptional. And in the action, it has to be in the action. You have to catch them and give them positive, immediate praise while they're doing the good thing. It can't be afterwards or it doesn't have the effect. Okay. Now, if that works for children, we're all what? Big kids. Okay. We forget to be kids sometimes. We forget to have fun. So what if you help somebody have a little fun? Whether you're walking in the office or jumping on a Zoom, you can look at somebody and say, man, I saw that post you did on Facebook the other day, and boom, and give them some positive praise. Wow. Or how about when you're on social media, you see somebody actually doing something fantastic and they're remarking an event, some milestone, whether it's with their family, something done personally, and you can give them more than just a thumbs up. Okay. I know that I have to do that sometimes because I don't have the time to dig in. But when you can have the time to give that positive influence, that positive remark, what does it do for that individual? Creates their day, right? Boost their day. So when you become, Randy, I know you are the ambassador. You are out here bringing your particular kind of gratitude into work environments and creating that positive environment. Something like this, as far as, because you and I had this conversation about Sean Aker's research, is creating that and creating the habit. And he has experience with individuals that they have done this for a consistent period of time. And here's the key thing. He talks about a hospital that was, it was in Florida somewhere where he had started this event. And these were medical professionals, academics, people that were very, very busy in high pressure trauma. It was a trauma center. And he recommended the CEO, got the CEO of the hospital to buy into this. And they started doing it on every one of their morning meetings. And it was 2 years later, the second largest domestic shooting event in US history happened like right in their backyard. They were the ones that were responsible for responding. And what they said to Sean afterwards is, if we had not done the conditioning, if we had not created the cohesion, because it's the social capital. I hate to use that term because it sounds too sterile. It's the tapestry that we become more relationable to each other when we are sharing something that we're grateful for, whether it's about ourselves or other people or our world, and we see each other moving in a positive fashion. That locking arms together, that's what creates this hockey stick effect. And so it's something that you can do every single day, and it will cause people to stop back and take pause for a second when you recommend it. And then when they understand why you're doing it, then they buy into it, because there's no reason anyone has to object to this. There is not. It's just they're not used to it. They're like, what do you mean? Be gracious, be great. Yeah, I remember, my mom told me to be thankful. Or, yeah, I remember, when I went to church on Sunday, my minister told me we should all be more grateful. Yeah, whatever. But when you say, okay, well, we're not just going to gloss over this. We're actually going to do it. And like we could do right now, we can go around. We've got 6 people online, and we can take 30 seconds here before we sign off and tell something that we're grateful for. I'll start. My name is Steve from the United States. And I'm incredibly grateful for this amazing fiance that I have. And she just does the most amazing things to me on a regular basis. And I already heard just a second ago that she's up. So I was already got her Valentine's card. So it's sitting on the bar. I wanted to give it to her this morning with her coffee, but she got up a little bit early. But I still am glad that I get to show her how much I love and care about her. So she's the person that I'm grateful for this morning. Okay, who else?
I'll go.
Go.
I'm grateful to have a new day with a breath of life and new opportunities to learn and grow as I study, as I come to beautiful meetings like this, and as I, just take every opportunity I can to give kindness away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy. Who else?
The first, Linda. I'll go. I'm grateful for a couple of things. First, about me, I lost 2.2 pounds this week.
Wow,
And,
that's
I kind of gave up some things I shouldn't have been eating. So I'm focusing back on my health more. And in line with that, I found Tony Robbins' brand new book called Life Force.
Right.
It just came out. I didn't realize he was in a serious snowboarding accident, probably not too long ago, and was told he could never jump again. He could never do this. He could never do that. Well, you don't tell Tony Robbins you can't do.
Right.
And so he got into stem cell therapy and a lot of the cutting edge kind of neurobiology stuff. And so I just got the book yesterday. I'm starting to read it. Very excited about finding out some of the new age abilities that he's kind of brought to his life and how he's going to be able to share. He's co-authored with a couple very prominent doctors as well.
Good.
So I'm excited about that. Life Force. I think
Good.
it's going to be a wonderful read.
Awesome. Thank you. And a good share. Good. Thank you.
I go next.
Maricela, yes.
Hi, good morning, guys. My name is Maricela. I'm from the US. And this morning, well, every day, I'm grateful for my husband. I have a husband that is very supportive in everything that I do. And I just feel grateful that I have him as my partner.
Excellent. Thank you. And he is a good guy. I know him as well. So he's a good man. Yes, for sure.
Okay, so I'll go next. So my name's Linda. I am from Austin, Texas, and I am grateful for living in Austin, Texas. I actually originally from Cincinnati, so getting up and it's not snowy and it's going to be 70 today, and that to me is awesome.
Right.
And my family, which is my husband and 2 dogs, I really enjoy having them, and they're very supportive of me, and the dogs. I love having the dogs around, so that's I'm grateful for them.
Good. Thank you, Linda. Good job.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and I am sorry I have no video. I'm grateful for another day, waking up and being able to breathe, and I'm very thankful I'm in Florida and not in the snow.
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. And yeah, you're in beautiful Florida down there. That's great. All right, so there we go. There's a simple roundtable. Took us all, 60 seconds maybe to express that. But here's what we've done. We've fired off and triggered in this moment by listening not just to ourselves, but to other individuals. We've started this process, taking that moment of mindfulness. And guess what? When you're mindful in the moment and gratefulness, guess where your mind cannot be? It can't be in the past, and it can't be in the future. It can't. It can't. Okay? So what you have done is you have forced your mind into the moment. You have triggered mindfulness. That's what the term means. And technically, this is also a meditation, okay? Because by coming into the present moment, centering yourself here and finding something that you're grateful for, that is a form of meditation. So we've now accomplished that. We've been mindful, we've been meditative, we've shared with each other, we've all learned how valuable this is. We got to watch something from Sean this morning that goes back to the science and the research that he did at Harvard. So now we can each do this, not just every Monday, but every day. And heck, why not? Why not every beginning of every one of our Zoom calls, or every client meeting, or every time we hang out in, I don't know, whatever kind of meeting that it is? Why not we become the individuals that make the world a better place each day by doing what? By having that moment of mindfulness and just saying, hey, why not before we begin here? You know, a lot of people like to begin a meeting with prayer. Absolutely. Why not? And in that prayer, what do a lot of people do? They express something they're grateful for. This is the same thing, okay? You don't have to take that concept of formality, because some people, oddly, are put off by that spiritual concept of let's have a moment of prayer. But if you feel that you would offend some individuals, guess what you can do that won't offend individuals is, why don't we take a moment to go around the table and talk about something that we're grateful for? And the same thing is, we are being gracious and being grateful. And in that way, I think we've also increased our spiritual level of awareness in the moment, right? The more time we can help keep ourselves in the moment, the better we're able to be effective in our lives. That means we're better to be helping other individuals. And if we're better and we're helping other individuals, that means we are becoming better each day. That's what we're here for, right?
That's right.
Love you. Thank you for being here. You guys have an amazing day, an amazing week. And I will see
Thank you.
you Saturday or next Monday.
Thanks, Steve. Have a
Thank
great
you
day.
so much, Steve. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you